Hi, my name is Pradeep Ramachandran. I'm a principal engineer at Multicoreware, and this talk is the talk for our paper titled Content Adaptive Live Encoding Using Open Source Codecs, which has been accepted for publication into MM6 at Istanbul from June 8th to 11th. This work is collaborative work with my co-authors, Shushwang Yang, Praveen Tiwari, and Gopi, who work with me at Multicoreware, along with other collaborators who have enabled us to do this work over here. The motivation behind this work, of course, is trying to make sure that we develop solutions which are video compression solutions to handle the explosion of video traffic on the internet. Now, these kind of solutions have always been important to make sure that the amount of bandwidth consumed over the internet for video is limited, but it becomes even more important now given the fact that the world is going more virtual because of the recent happenings. And at this point, the two popular codec standards that are available for encoding and transmitting compressed content are AVC and HEVC. And their popularity is enabled by the fact that there is decoding support available in the hardware, which is a very important enabler for improving consumption. And in order to generate content towards these codec solutions, the content providers prefer open source software, open source codecs to generate the relevant content. They prefer software because it's more flexible, it can be upgraded in the field. And they prefer open source because they get all the beauty of the stability and the wide testability and the feedback. And of course, they get the source code for the content itself. It's a great advantage. X264 and X265 are the most popular open source codecs for AVC and HEVC respectively. And today they're used across a wide variety of deployments for both live and for offline encoding. Now, this paper looks at a key challenge that is limiting the use of X264 and X265 in live encoding. Specifically, with live encoding, the important challenge that one wants to solve is to make sure that you sustain the frame rate while maximizing quality, right? So if you end up dropping the encoder frame rate below live use cases, which it means that you end up dropping frames, which of course is unacceptable. And as always, with all kind of video solutions, visual quality is the most important experience that the end user wants to enjoy. So delivering high visual quality or delivering high quality of experience to the end user is the key game that one is trying to play here. So towards this, the solutions that vendors try to use today is they try to configure either X264 or X265 using static settings such that given the most complex video, you still are able to sustain a live frame rate. Now, this means that you end up tuning the parameters based on the worst case video and use the same for all the content. But therein lies the limitation, because the fact is, while the existing solution can guarantee a fixed frame rate, the quality is very heavily compromised, right? It's because as your incoming video becomes simpler, you could actually end up encoding it faster, which means that you can trade that off for higher quality, but you don't exploit that today because they are statically configured. So the work that we present in this paper have two key contributions that enable addressing these two limitations. First, we propose a new PID-based architecture for content adaptive live encoding. And this architecture proposes dynamic control outside the codec that's monitoring the rate achieved by the encoder and adjusts the encoder depending on the content to make sure that we sustain the frame rate while maximizing visual quality. Secondly, we present an implementation of this architecture on top of both X264 and X265 with specific discussions as to the kind of APIs for these codecs that we have used for this implementation. And we present results of real world videos that show improvements with live encoding with this content adaptive encoding solution. So before I get into details of the architecture and the results, some quick background on both AVC and HEVC. Both AVC and HEVC are block-based video codec standards, which basically work by dividing the incoming video into different size blocks. AVC uses 16 by 16 and 8 by 8 blocks. HEVC has a much larger set of blocks that it uses for coding. And it then goes ahead and tries to predict each block from a similar size block in a previous, within a frame, which can either be an intra-coding or across frames, which is intercoding. So the predictions follow similar sizes as coding blocks, but there are additional options that can be exploited for each of AVC or HEVC. Once you predict, you estimate the prediction error, you transform to the frequency domain, you then quantize and you encode. So this kind of transformation and quantization There are several options for transformation presented in both the codecs, and you try to encode with fixed context-aware algorithms that enable maximum compression for a given set of bits. Your coding, prediction, and transform blocks are guided by what is called the rate distortion optimization, or the RDO functionality, where the goal is you try to maximize for a given bit rate, you try to minimize the rate distortion, or for a given distortion, you want to make sure that you get the minimum amount of bits to get to that distortion. The decoding process is essentially an inversion of the above steps. So basically what a decoder does is it inverts exactly what the encoder is trying to do, and it applies additional filters on top of the reconstructed image to eliminate any known coding artifacts, therefore making sure that the reconstructed picture looks visually identical to the original content. Now the encoder also has to implement these filters, and these are called additional in-loop filters implemented by codecs. X264 and X265 are open source implementations of the AVC and the HEVC standards respectively. Particularly both X264 and X265 support nearly all the spec options, including both the 8-bit, which is the main profile, and the 10-bit, which is the high or the main 10 profiles. And X265 in particular supports all HDR extensions of main 10, including HDR10, HDR10+, HLG, and Dolby Vision. Both these encoders have been used for widespread commercial deployments for both offline and live encoding. They are integrated into several open source frameworks, popular open source frameworks like FFmpeg, Handbrake, GStreamer, and so on. And they've been extensively accelerated using threading and assembly optimizations to make sure that their use on the cloud is very effective, right? So that's a key enabler for using these codecs on the cloud. These codecs expose hundreds of features that enable the user to trade off performance and compression efficiency. These features can be controlled via the command line parameter or across the API. And the codecs themselves present 11 pre-packaged trade-off options that enable trading off between the highest speed and lowest efficiency, as exposed by the ultra-fast preset, and the medium and the very slow preset that gives you the highest quality at the lowest speed. The medium preset is a good balance between these two trade-offs, but typical users start off with these presets and start configuring or reconfiguring on top of these presets to make sure that for their content, they achieve the best possible configuration. As I had mentioned earlier, for live content, the way that a typical integrator uses this is to start from these presets and try to tune the presets in such a way that you achieve fixed frame rate immaterial of the video, or rather you take the worst case video and try to achieve the fixed frame rate of 30p or 60p or whatever. So now, as I explained earlier, the limitation of doing so is that you are going to have to statically configure your encoder, and therefore you need a better solution in order to be able to dynamically control the encoder and dynamically trade off performance versus efficiency. So here's a simple diagram of showing how our solution actually works. Here we see an uncompressed video coming in, video codec, uncompressed video coming in. The video codec, which can be X264 or X265, generates compressed video from here. In our solution, what we do is we have a PID controller that takes in the achieved frame rate that comes from the encoder into the PID controller. There is a target frame rate that the PID controller is configured with, and the PID controller tries to make sure that you reconfigure the codec to achieve this new target configuration. So this loop is an in-loop filter that constantly tries to correct itself and tries to adjust the codec such that you sustain the target frame rate while making sure that you achieve the maximum quality for the video. Now, how do you do that? The PID controller also maintains a list of configurable parameters which can impact FPS, and it also tracks how the configurable parameter impacts both FPS and efficiency, and tries to pick and choose for a given difference between target frame rate and the achieved frame rate, which is the set of parameters for you to control such that you get the maximum compression efficiency and the maximum while sustaining the frame rate for live use cases. The paper has more details as to the kind of configurable parameters that we actually control and how we manage the APIs of the codecs towards achieving this configurability. Some quick results. This graph shows you the benefits of leveraging content adaptive encoding for live codecs. The x-axis here shows frame numbers for one stream that's comprised of a combination of typical streams that are used for live streaming. The y-axis shows relative FPS achieved by the codec 1.0 means that we're able to sustain the live encoding speed. As you can see in the blue line, which is traditional X264, X264 in some parameters is able to achieve a higher FPS, and as the content starts to change, X264 actually starts to achieve a much lower FPS than 1.0, which means that here you're actually dropping frames. And then as the content changes, it starts widely fluctuating in frame rate because the content is probably very dynamic. The green line, which is a content adaptive encoder for X264, shows you that in between of the content, our content adaptive encoder is actually able to sustain live frame rate. And as the content changes, the live encoder is also able to sustain the frame rate while making sure that you never go below 1.0. The yellow line plotted on the secondary y-axis shows you the relative SSIM, or the relative distortion in dB. And you can see that even though we're able to pull up the encoder's frame rate, we do so with minimal impact to coding efficiency or visual quality. And this is done by intelligently choosing the parameters that we configure for dynamic adjustments. This graph shows you the similar results for X265. On the x-axis is the frame number, y-axis is the relative FPS. And you can see here that X265 configured for this particular stream does not even achieve the target FPS of a relative 1.0, while the content adaptive encoder is actually able to sustain 1.0 for different types of content and sustain this whenever content is changing as well. Again, the limited impact to quality from this content adaptive encoder comes from the fact that we are careful in choosing which parameters to encode. And in fact, you'll even see that in some cases, like for example, in this middle section, we actually end up achieving better quality than what the default encoder achieves, although we are getting much higher speed as well. So it could be a win-win situation for both speed and for quality. So this is our overview of the paper. So in conclusion, we have talked today about leveraging X264 and X265 for live encoding, which are popular open source codecs for AVC and for HEVC. Coding efficiencies of these encoders for live encoding is limited due to the fact that they're typically configured with your static worst case configuration. So although your content might be easier, you do not trade off the increased frame rate for better efficiency. This paper discusses a solution to adapt both X264 and X265 configuration based on the content. We leverage existing APIs in X264 and X265 to actually implement this. And as the video becomes simpler or more complex, we reconfigure the encoder dynamically to make sure that we avoid any frame drops while getting maximum quality. This implementation is available actually as part of the UHT-Kit software library from Multicoreware. Feel free to get in touch with us for more details on this solution. Thank you very much for your time. I can take questions on the live Q&A session, or feel free to contact me offline as an author for the session as well. Thank you.